Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Mark Cthulhu Hoffmeyer.
And I am Jay. I forgot we did nicknames for this podcast. Clue it. Mariana Trench. I don't know.
Well, Jay, when you're balancing three podcasts, like I had to think of it just before I said welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I'm like, is this Movies, Films, and Flicks? Is this Con Air? Is this Ernest Scared Stupid Minute?
I'm Jay. Put the bunny back in the escape pod. There we go.
I want to record an Airheads podcast, but like in the air, like on a balloon. Does that make sense?
No, not so. But I'd like
get a hot air balloon and record an Airheads.
The audio quality would be terrible.
I mean, it'd be worth it. I'd get a real condensed mic, build up some good wind protection, and just talk about airheads and swimming pools for an hour.
I like it. I think you should try and land in a swimming pool for the swimming pool section of the discussion and then take off again.
Oh my gosh. Well, we've talked airheads, so that was good. Yeah.
Nice. Well, today we're not talking airheads, we're talking underwater. This is Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, where we're talking about Deep Blue Sea adjacent films, which are films directed by Rennie Harlin or featuring sharks, lots of aquatic action, which is very much the case with Underwater. What is Underwater? It is a 2020 American science fiction action horror film directed by William Eubank and starring Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cassell, Jessica Henwick, John Gallagher Jr., Mahmoud Ati, and T.J. Miller as the surviving crew members of the Kepler 822, a drilling, a TN Industries drilling and research facility at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which gets destroyed by some means, and these are the only 6 survivors trying to make their way across the ocean floor, the trench floor, towards another research station base where there might be a way of getting back out. And back when we started doing this offshoot of this podcast, we sent out a list of potential films to some of our previous guests and anyone who wanted to be interested in them. And today's guest immediately said this one, and also The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, which he joined us for earlier this year. Mark, who's joining us for today's show?
Oh, we have the wonderful, the fantastic, he joined us on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, Matthew, coming back for a third time? It's Matthew Stewart from the Simplistic Reviews. Yeah.
Yes. You were talking about Airheads. The Airhead is here. Perfect.
Well, welcome back again to talk about this beautiful $50 to $80 million budgeted movie that's 94 minutes and absolutely wonderful. Sorry to do this real quick, but I feel like Underwater is the movie that on Twitter a lot, and film people in general, they're like, I miss big budgeted creature features that aren't superhero movies. And then this is that. And then people are like, I like short movies. And then this movie is 94 minutes. And then it comes out and people are like, nah, I'm not going to watch it. And it's just like, this is what people talk about. Like, this is what people want, like a Deep Blue Sea-esque big budgeted film with good actors, excellent production design, solid visual effects, 94 minutes, constant momentum, amazing. And then critics, audiences, I mean, it's during the pandemic, so we don't have to count the box office, but are kind of like, it's all right. Like, you just want to, like, guys, like, this is, it's beautiful. I'm sorry. That's it. I just love this movie.
Was that the rant?
Like they filmed it in a Lowe's in Louisiana, which is Lowe's is a big box hardware store. The glass is all visual effects. The suits weighed 100 pounds. Huge, like, just such a cool, inventive, good-looking, propulsive movie. But people are like, I don't know, it reminds me of Alien. And well, Alien borrowed from like 80 movies. Watch the documentaries about it. Like O'Bannon said, like, you steal from the best. So like that movie's not even totally original if you know about old cinemas. Like, don't put that on Underwater. It's fun. It's good.
This is the angriest Mark has been this early in the podcast. And I love it.
Riled up. I love it.
Every time I talk about this movie, I get annoyed because you read reviews and you're like, oh, this movie borrows from this. And you're like, ugh. Like, every movie borrows from it. Like, look back at the movies from the 40s. They're all like Frankenstein 8. Like, this and that. And like, all remakes do. Like, movies have always borrowed from each other. It's like, why are you pinpointing poor Underwater, which like actually is an original film and features good actors and has Cthulhu in it and Sea Beast. So that's my rant. Sorry.
I like that rant.
It's a valid rant.
Going a similar rant.
I would say I was on the other side of that. This is the second time I've watched it is for today's podcast. I did watch it 2020 when it came out, and at the end of the year I always do a ranking of the 2020 films I've seen of that year, from worst to best, and this was the very bottom of my list. Underwater was number 39 out of 39 of the 2020 films I watched in 2020, so it was below Spencer Confidential. It was below previously covered on this podcast, Primal. And that's the two immediately above it. Below the Disney remake of Lady and the Tramp. And I would say that was an invalid listing on my behalf, because I didn't really pay attention to it, because I heard it got bad reviews, and I just kind of chucked it on whilst I was wrapping Christmas presents. And didn't really pay attention to it. So I shouldn't have even ranked it, but I just have to go back and kind of apologise to the filmmakers of Underwater and everyone involved who really liked it, that I shouldn't have ranked it that low. Because I watched it again for this podcast, I paid attention, and I enjoyed it. There's a lot to like here. It's a fun film. There's monsters. They try and eat people. They get exploded from the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff. You don't see that in movies, like the implosion. I mean, I always go back to, you always go back to the Abyss, where the one scene with Michael Biehn is like, when I was a kid seeing that, I was like, I never knew the power of the sea, I guess, and everything. And this movie definitely shows it in varying ways, not like grotesque ways or anything like that, but definitely, well, the one scene that we'll maybe talk about in a few minutes is like, 20 minutes into the movie, where you're like, oh my God, this is where this movie's going to go. This is horrifying. And we haven't even seen monsters yet, which is even better. But I think this movie coming out in 2022, I think everybody was, let's put it this way. Everybody was very grumpy in 2022. So I think people watching this movie made them grumpy because they're already super grumpy. And they're like, I hate the world. So I'm just going to take all my anger and being pissed off in the world about this one movie that is blatantly ripping off Alien or Leviathan or
Gravity.
Deep Star 6 or Gravity, or even like in some aspects for me like High Life a little bit, and like all these other like either space movies or bottom of the sea, under the sea movies or everything, and everybody was just very like, meh, this was a slog. I felt like I was walking on the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Like you know what? I wish you would. I wish you would just walk on the bottom of the Mariana Trench and go away forever, or fly off into the distance and unclip yourself from our heroine Nora and just go do what he did in that scene. And I'm playing the pronoun game because I know we'll talk about specific scenes that we do like. So that's where I'm at, and this is my fourth time watching this movie, and I absolutely love it. It's short, it's to the point, it's what I wanted, and it's got great actors, good scenes, and I can't say much more lauding about this movie because I do love it.
In the UK, it's on Disney Plus. I don't know where it is available in America, but it feels like it's really available.
It's not. In the US, you actually have to pay for this movie. It's not on any free streaming service that I saw.
Oh, it's on Disney Plus in the UK. So the UK listeners, Disney Plus. There you go.
Yeah, I bought the Blu-ray, and I watched there's an exhaustive amount of behind the scenes for this, and there's a commentary by William Eubank, and it's just, I don't know, these are the kind of movies that get me, I watch so much content, and it's movies like this that make me so happy, because you're in New Orleans, you are in an abandoned warehouse, essentially. You have actors in 100-pound suits with no visual effects, and then you later on, it's like you're underwater. Like the glass is all VFX. Like you get good performances, and they left out the glass on the helmet so they could get up close in the actors' faces. And when you have Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cassel, Jessica Henwick, Gallagher, like I even think T.J. Miller's had his problems, but I always found him to be a welcome screen presence. When you have like such good actors in this, and then just like the facility gets flooded at minute 7, and that's actually a pretty long credit scene. So then from there it's just go. Like we gotta move, we gotta go, we like there's no time. There's no time. Sorry, that's Craig Ferguson. I miss his show. He had a great late night show. But yeah, it's like I guess I just love how, and also what I love about Underwater is, yes, they are part of this drill that goes down in the mirror. I want a documentary about the making of this drill. But they get down to the bottom of the trench, and it's not their fault that Cthulhu and his monsters rise. Like this, they are just people who are
should have known better. Come on.
Like when they were building this, it's like, well, I wonder if we'll waken up an ancient god or a megalodon. But it's just watching these people who are basically the blue collar unit of this drilling site with the captain just trying to live and trying to like keep moving forward. And then the way it builds, and I wrote an article for Rotten Tomatoes about creature features and how much screen time monsters have in the movies. And I counted the time for this, and I mean, this is just like they show the monsters a lot in this. Like you wouldn't think so. They're introduced kind of late, but there's minutes and minutes of monster screen time. So it gives the goods. I don't know. I dig it. I just like this movie. I'm going to keep saying that. Every time I end a sentence, I'm just going to go, I just like this movie.
I just like this movie.
I dig it.
There's tons to like about it. Like creature design is fun from like the very first time when you see the little creature to the, I guess, regular sized creature, and then eventually to the giant behemoth of the creature, which is great. And I guess it's funny when you look at like movie posters as well too, because I think there's maybe about 4 or 5 different movie posters. There's the one with like the bubbles with Kristen Stewart, then there's the one with like the giant looking anglerfish looking creature on the front of it. Maybe that threw some people off. It's like, anglerfish? That's not scary. It's like, I don't know. I've seen an anglerfish, not up close, but those things are horrifying.
Yeah, I'll just go watch Blue Planet.
Nightmares. Yes, go watch Blue Planet, or don't, unless you want to have nightmares for the evening.
It's like when that kid says in Jurassic Park something like a 6-foot turkey doesn't sound very scary. A 6-foot turkey would be terrifying.
Yes. Have you seen a 6-foot turkey? No, but I guarantee if you saw it, you would run away.
It would be delicious. It would take ages to cook, but it would be just it'd be terrifying to chase by this thing.
We're having Thanksgiving next year with this 6-foot turkey.
It's like, lights out if a 6-foot turkey attacks you, right? Like it's lights out.
Yeah.
You're not going to survive that.
Probably not. Think about how like a regular sized goose is. Being attacked by one of them.
Oh, I got attacked by a bird once when I was running, and it scared. I was running down the street screaming as a bird was hitting the back of my head.
Well, they go after you. It's like you must have done something. Like you ran the wrong path that day.
Yeah, I was just jogging through my neighborhood, and a bird comes back and hits me in the back of the head. And then I look behind me, and it's chasing me. So I started sprinting and yelling.
Yelling at them. So you're running down the street.
It was like me going, ah!
Leave me alone!
Stop! Yeah, I was like, had my hands up in the air. It was not pretty. If anybody was like, yeah, Mark's like awesome, saw me do that, they're like, yeah, Mark's not so great.
Mark's okay. I mean,
yeah.
That's not Mark. That's not Mark.
He fell down a few steps in my
6-foot turkey, Mark. You can handle this, correct?
I mean, yeah. Oh man. So yeah, if it was a 6-foot turkey, I'd be dead.
I think I could.
That'd be a great story, though. That'd be a great. What happened to Mark? A 6-foot turkey.
He was taken to this island in Costa Rica where they had developed these giant turkeys from mosquitoes.
That was the only thing they were working on. It's like, look, these dinosaurs have run its course. Turkeys. We really have to get these turkeys back. These ancient turkeys that we read about in books that ruled the earth. They ruled the roost, if you will. So we have to bring these giant turkeys back. And then you bring that, I guess there was always the insinuation that Chris Pratt was the fat kid who was going to get his intestines cut open by Sam Neill. I haven't seen. Yeah, so you're always alive when they start to eat you. Show some friggin' respect. We should show some more respect for underwater. I think
that's
more
right.
Respect for this movie.
I've decided that if the way I want to go is from this movie.
hang on.
So
if I go.
So yeah, well, with the technology, I'm a Highlander. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've kind of given up on chopping off people's heads.
Okay.
So I just want to take a break from that for a while.
But if one day I give in to the natural progression of human life.
I've been hiding from Clancy Brown for like 40 years.
And he's everywhere.
Yeah. But so, all right, Matt, you and Jay are talking. Jay's like, man, Matt, did you hear what happened? Like, did you hear what happened to Mark? And you're like, what? Well, Mark was in the Mariana Trench working as an engineer in a drilling site, and Cthulhu comes out of nowhere and eats him. And you're like, Cthulhu ate Mark? Like, yeah. Like, see this casket right here for his funeral? Like, he's not in it. He's in Cthulhu's belly.
Yes. Like, we actually have a part of his belly that floated up somehow, and he's just in his stomach sack currently right now.
Yeah, Cthulhu got blown up by Kristen Stewart, and then I don't know what happened, but I guess his intestines are so pressurized that they floated to the surface, and they found Mark inside, but they couldn't take him out because of, Cthulhu gunk. So that's what's in there.
So plus Tyon Industries took his body away because they had to study it for science. For the sequel, that's not going to happen, which makes me even more sad.
If Kristen Stewart hadn't killed Cthulhu, as your podcast co-host, would I be obligated to avenge you? Because I don't.
Yes.
I don't see that happening, I'm afraid.
That would be Underwater 2 Cthulhu.
Just me.
Cthulhu Boogaloo?
Yeah, you want a boat.
Cthulhu 2 or Cthulhu?
Cthulhu 2. Cthulhu. Cthulhu, I think is good. Cthulhu.
Underwater.
Two underwater Cthulhu.
Two underwater, two Cthulhu.
Or two under two.
Thanks for everything, Mark Hotmeyer.
Yes, do that. And John Leguizamo has to be in it.
He's the one who runs Tyon Industries, actually.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who's like, he comes down, he's like, look, guys, I don't know what happened around here, but I have a show to get to. What show's that? It's a show I do at night with my friends. And we dance and sing.
We need to get that drill back into the Mariana Trench. Like, what? But I don't know, just the grunginess of, when they're all talking about where they are, they're all in the main office kind of talking about walking, the mile underwater.
Yeah.
I love the set design of that. I love how grungy the suits are. It does have a very Alien vibe, but it's not like Alien. Alien was about space truckers. This one's about underwater drillers. You're not going to have a 2001 Space Odyssey set in the Mariana Trench.
I feel like the nods to Alien have to be intentional. It's almost an homage. Because when they're around that kind of underlit table and that looks a lot like the kitchen scene. Just looking at it at a glance, it looks a lot like the scene where Kane dies in Alien.
Yeah.
With a white table. And I feel like it has to be intentional. It's not a knock against the film at all. They're all just kind of stood around it having a serious conversation. And things don't go well.
Well, I even think the whole thing too. It's like when you think about Alien, I always love the parts in Alien where it gets political, where it's like, well, where's my share? I need to get paid. I'm not getting paid enough for this mission or something like that. But this one's definitely more like, I gotta get back to my family.
I miss my dog.
My husband one day. So it's this funny kind of, as much as it looks like Alien, it's these people who are very empathetic to each other, and obviously they care because they talk about these other people off screen that have died. Like, oh, I saw McKellar or this person or that person, and everybody knew each other. What was it? They keep going 316 people on this or something like that. So obviously all these people knew each other, but how long were they down there in this? No, there's no. And did you guys like all the inner monologue stuff with Kristen when she's explaining kind of when she's monologuing about when you're down in the sea, it's wet or whatever she says.
She's talking about when you're down here too long, the awakened dreaming tends to kind of merge together. I liked the insight it gave to her character, but I feel like it kind of didn't go anywhere towards towards the climax. I didn't add anything to
It was just kind of this is what my thoughts are. But I like it when I think about it. After watching it this time, I'm listening to it. I mean, if you're under the water this long, you're probably going insane. You have not space madness, but probably undersea madness to a certain extent. And while I think everything does happen in this film, it is almost one of these things if you had a large accident, but maybe nothing really existed because you've gone completely insane by being down in the sea for so long, maybe. I don't really know. There was something I was thinking about. That's probably just me completely making stuff up and being one of these stupid Twitter people you know what the movie really means? You're insane. No, it's clearly Cthulhu and his little babies that are wanting to, and they're pissed off that you, I don't know, knock that extra wall down in their duplex and you're trying to gentrify their ocean floor.
we got a great bagel shop going down in the trench tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, it's like the vegan store over here, Whole Foods here,
vape shop.
We're a vape shop, head shop. You can buy your Delta 8 or just medical marijuana if you want right here. It's like, I don't like this idea.
I'm gonna eat your helmet now.
Yes, I'm gonna suck you out of your suit.
I do think there are several elements that sort of disappeared in this movie. So you have the inner monologue, and you also have all the nods to Alice in Wonderland as well. Yeah. So, like T.J. Miller has a Cheshire Cat tattoo on his chest.
Yeah. And the
then
White
you have
Rabbit.
like the Queen, White Rabbit, the Queen of Hearts card that appears at the lavatory. So like she's going on a journey,
I guess. Going deeper and deeper into throughout the film.
Yeah. But then he even quotes it too. Doesn't he? Even quotes. He's like, "Oh, we're not in Alice in Wonderland or something like that." I think T.J. Miller quotes something like that. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't quite fit, but I still like it. Like at least they tried something different for the movie and put a couple nods in there that were intentional. So I kind of like that. And
I thought having the tea party in the middle was an odd choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd we get this china?
Everyone switch suits.
Can you have some Earl Grey, please? Oh, man. Everyone's tripping.
It's a dormouse. Just the dormouse in it.
Everybody should just been named after a character from Alice in Wonderland or something like that. It's like,
hey, Tweedledee, get over here.
Tweedledee, get over here. It's like, hello, my name is John Dormouse. Like,
hey. Where's John Dormouse going?
Where's Anne Queen?
Where's Captain Caterpillar gone?
I just think we live in a weird world where a 94-minute monster movie with clingers and behemoths and Kristen Stewart being swallowed whole, then exploding from that body, then killing Cthulhu, is kind of met with grumpiness. It's an odd decision. Like, they made this and I'm angry.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It's like, think about this. I guess I'm looking at the credits. This was filmed in 2019, so a year before everything kind of shut down and you really couldn't make movies anymore. And what Top Gun? I'm not comparing this to Top Gun Maverick or anything by any means. But that was filmed in 2018 or 2019, not released until 2022. Would movies like this, just if you kept a lid on them for so long and then release them now, would the reception be better? Like, I don't know. We're talking about it in 2022 now, as opposed to a 2020 perspective.
I absolutely think so, because this is post Spencer. This, like, K-Stew is like white hot right now with her roles. Mm-hmm. And I think you were right too. Movies came out during that time. People were very grumpy. They just, I mean, I remember Bloodshot. Listen, I love Bloodshot, but I get it. But it was met with just universal ridicule.
You love Bloodshot more than anyone else.
I was reading reviews for Bloodshot though, Jay. I was reading reviews and I'm like, you didn't even watch this movie. And someone goes, this movie, the action scenes with Vin Diesel, they aren't like the action scenes in The Raid that are graceful. And I'm like, it's Vin Diesel playing a guy called Bloodshot who just punches people in their faces. Like, it's not going to be Bloodshot.
It's also not The Raid.
Yeah, I was like that's what people were doing though. They're like, these action scenes aren't graceful. I'm like, what is happening here? But I also think
this is the problem when people just get bored and they're just on the internet. It's like, what can I do to like make myself sound somewhat like civilized or smart about an action movie? And I love The Raid too. Yeah. It's like, why are we comparing it to The Raid? It's like, yes, The Raid is awesome. It's like, well, graceful. It's like, no, it's a blood fest. It's brutal. It's like, I don't really see a lot of things graceful about The Raid. I love The Raid, but I don't know if I'd call it graceful.
And if they've made it more graceful and similar to The Raid, all the reviews would have been, this is just like The Raid.
Yes. Yeah. And like, someone, I think they left the theater early because they're like, yeah, Vin Diesel in the beginning with all these scenes, but I don't want to spoil it. But I was like, wait, that's all explained later. But I think you're right. People were just grumpy. It was an interesting world. You're like, are we doing this? Are we not doing this? I remember I was teaching and teachers were mad because the school hadn't shut down yet. They're like, we need to shut down. It was just real chaotic. Mm-hmm. And, it was January, but I just think maybe this movie, I hate speaking for the populace. I hate when people are like, this is what happened. But if you look at the clues, I think you're right. I think it just, and also too, any movie that was released at this time, you don't have much faith in. It's like when Netflix wait, no, it's like when they pulled Annihilation from like UK theaters and just put it on Netflix because they said it was too smart. So everyone's like, oh, this movie's crap. It's too smart. So you put a movie out during this time and it's just I think people didn't, I don't know. I think people just didn't have faith in it because of when it was released because so many movies were being delayed.
Yeah, I watched Annihilation on Netflix and thought this would look great in the cinema.
And it did look great in the cinema.
It did.
I mean, who saw it in the theater? It was great.
Like, but I love, like, they're like, it's too smart and cerebral. And you're like, oh.
I mean, I don't disagree with that because I didn't understand it. But I would have loved to have not understood it in the cinema.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me a gigantic albino alligator in the cinema.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy, Jay? And Matt, they filmed that movie in the UK and in England. Like, they filmed it near the Queen's palace.
They filmed it in the Shimmer, I think you'll find.
Yeah. But
it's an actual site now.
But it's kind of crazy though that they found. I guess they dressed it up, but they found areas that did look like Florida, Louisiana, which is pretty cool.
I don't know where they went. That's not this.
This is the beauty of like the UK. I think there's so many places around there people don't think about it, like, oh, it's just London. It's like, no, there's so much everywhere. I know, sorry, that was a horrible accent, but I knew you would at least give me some crap about it, so I had to throw it out there, Jay. So.
No worries. But yeah, it is quite a varied landscape, I guess.
But guys, this movie was filmed in a Lowe's. A Lowe's.
In a superstore.
Yeah, and it's just an abandoned superstore. And it just makes me so happy. I really recommend everybody maybe buy the Blu-ray and just watch the extras because it's really cool craft making for this film. You know, like Legacy worked on the suit. I mean, Legacy are an excellent special effects house. K&B came in and helped out with some of the blood and special effects. You have that octopus that we see in the movie. That was the original design of the monsters in this movie, of the clingers. So you just have some really neat creatures in here. And I remember watching it. I was just so maybe we can talk about this. I love how it just goes. It's very propulsive. I don't know if you guys like that or not, but it does not stop.
Oh, I want like what 94, 97 minute. I want a movie that goes. This is what I preach for this all the time. Just give me a movie that starts. To your point, the place floods at 7, so you're already getting stuff happening at 7 at the 7-minute mark, and that's including the 3-minute. Like, let's just say 2-minute intro prologue about like, oh, the drill. And I like all the newspaper clippings too. It's like, as much as people probably hate this like extra exposition, I think that's done great. It's very like Pacific Rim-esque, which I think is nice. Just give me a little bit of story, and then it's off to the races.
I love the camera just following it down. Like, just keeps going down and down and down and down and down and down.
It never ends.
Still
going.
Never
ends.
Like Spaceballs.
Yep. It keeps going down, and then it goes into the actual the tunnel or the corridor, and it just does like the 360 corridor scene where it's like, this place looks just, I would never want to go here ever. It's not kept up. It's grimy. It's disgusting. These people have literally probably given up on keeping this place clean because they know inevitably something's going to happen in 7 minutes that should have happened however long ago too. So
there's a reason that
it's like very hopeless feeling, which I kind of like too. I like that kind of just, okay, I'm already on the edge of my seat, not knowing what's going to happen, even though you kind of do.
There's a reason we're covering this. This is our second October episode. So this is our second Halloween episode for the year. We did Nightmare on Elm Street 4 earlier this month, and now this is our next horror film. So it's kind of, we saved it for this month. Last year we did The Descent. This year we're doing Underwater. We're doing
both movies I love.
Films for October.
I know, that's another movie I really compare this to. You know, it's
I mean, it has a Descent shot in it. This that shot of the creature is filmed almost like The Descent, so you know that's a callback to that classic film.
Yeah,
which I absolutely that's like one of my favorite horror movies.
That's another film that doesn't really get a lot of. I mean, it gets talked about, but I don't think it nearly gets as much credit. No,
cinephiles love it, right?
Yeah.
But it just hasn't crossed over like I don't know, the Alien or Jaws. I mean, which is hard to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's more of a cinephile lovers watch that movie.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? When I watched The Descent, I think this was 05 or 06, but my buddy somehow got a copy of it, and I had never heard of it before. He's like, yo, dude, I got a movie for you. Come over and watch it. He's like, I watched it last night and I peed a little bit. I'm like, what? And then I was watching it, and that scene happens, and I jumped straight into the air. He's like, I told you. I'm like, well, I was like, I didn't pee, but I could see how someone who, maybe had a lot of soda probably did. And then I went to see it. And then I went to the theater to watch it, y'all. I'd watch it at a place, and I was like, I got to spend money to go see this. So then when it hit the theaters, like months later, I went and watched it in the theater, just letting everyone know. But that's a weird story about The Descent. But
I want to know more about the urination.
Yeah, I want to know less, if possible.
So this guy watches every horror film known to man. Like, he really versed me in horror cinema. So when I heard him say that he peed a little bit, I was like, this movie's got to be good.
Mm-hmm. But usually it's hyperbole because you get too much of this stuff like the scariest movie of all time.
Oh gosh,
and that is the one thing. If I hear that usually from somebody, it's like, I'm not watching this film. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to put myself through this.
And you're a horror guy.
And I love horror. I absolutely. I've been watching horror movies since I was probably 5 years old. So I have 30 years of watching schlock horror to art house horror to everything else in between, and just I guess I'm a grumpy old horror fan now. It's the way these people who hate this film because they're like, this is Alien, or this is this movie with people stuck inside a room and something's trying to kill them. Like, you understand that's literally been movie making or horror movie making since the 1920s or something. It's like, it's been 100 years of the same thing, and now you're mad at this movie because of, I can't even put my finger on it. Like, and I tried to read reviews of this. I mean, I'm sure all of us have like read Twitter reviews or something about this movie, or even Letterboxd. Like why do people just absolutely deplore this movie and maybe not even do a rewatch? It's like, that's my one review and I'm sticking to it. It's like, I guess there's too many movies for people to watch, so they're like, I'm not going to waste my time watching this movie again. It's like, I've wasted, what's great about this movie? Watching this 5 times, I've only wasted about 450 minutes of my life. And I've wasted my life on so many things. And to do this 5 times with this movie and enjoy it every single time I watch it, I'm more than happy to waste 450 more minutes of my life watching something like this. Give me more of it, please.
You know what I have noticed is there is kind of after Twilight, I know Robert Pattinson has really turned it around, but like after Twilight, Pattinson did The Rover. He did some really interesting work. Yeah. Good Time. Then he did High Life. So now he did the Batman. So he's sort of free of the Twilight hate, I think. But Kristen Stewart, after I've always been a fan of hers. I liked her in Adventureland. And then after this, she did The Clouds of Sils Maria. Then she did Personal Shopper. She was churning out some really interesting work. So then when she becomes Kristen Stewart action hero in this, I do remember people going like, ugh, Kristen Stewart. It's like, yo, she's action here. She's like, there's action Adam Scott in Piranha 3D. This is action Kristen Stewart. Yeah. And I thought she crushed it in this movie.
And she's actually smart and she's actually like very good. She knows what she's like. Maybe it's like they have to point certain things like, oh, what do you do on this thing? Oh, I'm a mechanic. I'm an electrical mechanic. It's like, do people just get mad? Maybe people just get mad at women being smart. Or they're just mad. Yeah, they're just like, man, it's like, she would never be able to do that at the bottom of Rig, at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, because it exists, and I've been there. It's like, this is a movie, and guess what? Women are smart, and they are dependable, but people love Ripley. She's basically Ripley, but not Ripley, and again, we're gonna go 12 rounds on why I get upset. I think I'm more upset about human beings right now.
And I love the ending when Henwick and Stewart are carrying John Gallagher Jr. Like, it's them kind of beast moding him to get into the pods. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they're both legit. Henwick's awesome. I love her in Love and Monsters. Iron Fist was really bad.
That's where I know she was probably the one highlight of that.
Yeah, exactly. She was the best part. And you know what's interesting? People watch Commando, and they're like, "That's the greatest movie ever made." But Arnold Schwarzenegger's carrying a tree.
And had to.
You watch Fast and Furious 6, Fast 6, and Dwayne Johnson takes a 250-pound man and throws him like a beach ball into the ceiling of an interrogation room. Now, these guys are big and burly, but you're not carrying a tree, and you are not throwing a 250-pound man like a beach ball. But then everybody goes, yeah, it's awesome. And then Kristen Stewart carries the dude, And everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. Like
Well,
women,
it's-
people watch Prey, right? And they're like, oh, lady could never go toe to toe with a predator.
Yeah.
And you're like, ugh, like these are the same people who love Commando. Like these are the same people who have been watching dudes be way more powerful than what they should be. But I'm sorry, Amber Midthunder, who's awesome, fights a predator, and oh, it's unbelievable.
It would never happen. How dare you be just as strong as my hero, my fictitious hero, my magic man in my dreams.
I have a friend who refused to watch the film Wanted because on the poster Angelina Jolie's holding a gun that would be too heavy for her.
Oh.
And it's a regular gun.
Oh.
It's like, I just can't watch this film with her skinny arm holding this gun. It's just ridiculous. It's like, dude.
Oh. That's
we could go forever on just talking about why are people this way?
And I think I just thought about this too. Is Stewart's character in this movie, Nora? She is very empathetic too. She's not rude. Like some people are like, oh, like Captain Marvel's just too serious. Like here you have a character that's just all empathy and just seems like a smart, good person who likes the people around her. And then people are like, yeah, she still couldn't carry John Gallagher Jr. Like she's turning in a really interesting performance in a creature feature. Ripley, I think she was kind of fighting against the android and certain people on the ship wouldn't really listen to her.
Yeah.
But this one, everyone's just sort of cool with each other.
Yeah, I guess I think that's the thing that pissed people off. Maybe it's like these people are too friendly. Like they wanted more conflict. I think where people are actually this is a movie like Descent. This is a movie where people are actually trying to work together in order to survive, as opposed to like, no, I'm going out there myself. Even T.J. Miller, who could be like incorrigible sometimes,
bit of a dick,
bit of a dick in real life, and even in this movie a little bit too. He's like the one kind of part of this movie where I'm like, I guess you need that one slight kind of like pseudo gallows humor kind of going through the film, and he's fine. But then you have everybody else who wants to get along, and then there's stakes and there's timing and like the clock's and they keep reminding, the clock's ticking, we gotta go. And everybody works together, and even from the very beginning when the first victim of the film, what happens to him, which is I didn't think that was going to happen in this movie. That shocked me. I was like, oh my god, this is the way you get my interest peaked even more going through, because there's nothing good that is going to happen to any of these people, but they keep going and forging ahead, and then you have there's like a little backstory. I guess Nora, she has like the picture of her and her boyfriend or something, or husband or brother. You don't really know who it is.
Died.
Okay.
There's a bit of backstory where like her fiance died before she came down.
Okay, so
that's why she sacrifices herself, because she's got no one to go back to, basically.
Okay. See, I must have missed that or something like that. And so, because that's another thing that gets kind of glazed over. Something happened, or something did happen, obviously, because they explain it. I was too busy thinking about other stuff, apparently, I guess. So, I don't know. These people care about each other. This is what the world should learn more.
In a weird movie, there'd be what, like a cheating subplot, or this
a company man's down there like,
Paul Reiser's down there. I'm not saying he's bad in Aliens. He's perfect in Aliens.
For an extra percent, they're screwing each other over for an extra percent.
Like
when they're dragging John Gallagher Jr. at the end, they would find out that Nora had slept with him recently or something.
It would have been
that nonsense.
It's like, I'm sorry, Jessica, I had to sleep with Nora. We had a moment.
But it meant nothing.
It's confused. This is what he's talking about. Just get to the base. Come on.
Any other movie would have done that, but this said nothing. It did nothing like that at all, which I thought was it was a breath of fresh air. It's like, finally a movie that doesn't have to deal with this drama. They have to deal with a direct threat, not the threat within them.
That's a great. They have to deal with the direct threat, not the threat within. Wow.
Yeah. Man, we're getting deep.
We have a little bit of Jessica Henwick kind of doubting herself whether she can do it, because she's the least experienced member of the team. She's like a research assistant who's
like he's like, hey, intern, whatever T.J. Miller calls her, or something like that. Yeah.
But they get over that with a case of, you have to get in the water. Let's go.
Yeah. It's like, you're
really
going to die in here. You're going to maybe die out there. It's like, oh no, this is horrible.
And I'm a big Phantom camera stan as well. And they used, ever since Melancholia, I've been pretty obsessed with the Phantom camera. I always remember that. I was watching Melancholia, and during that slow motion scene at the end, I was like, what is this camera? And ever since then, I've fallen in love with it. But I do love the Phantom camera shots when she explodes, when the Cthulhu hits the station and it explodes, and then you have the super slow mo with the Phantom camera with her getting blown away from the blast. That looks so cool.
You're talking the scene from the very beginning, right? When it's like they're in that room, they close the door.
Oh no! At the end.
Well, it's both. They've got the beginning and the end. They've got both.
I feel like they do that a couple times in this.
Oh yeah, you get a Phantom camera, you use it
for sure. I mean, why not? It looks great.
Oh man, but like it didn't feel overly stylish. It just looked awesome. I think it captured the moment. And also when those, I have the name right here of these creatures. When the clingers, they start after she blasts her way from after she fights her way outside from the inside of a clinger. I love when Cthulhu just stands up, or the behemoth, and they're all attached to it. I think I picked up my wife and ran around the house with her at that scene, because I was like, sea now. I was like, sea monster, huge. I went to like straight up lizard brain Hoffmeyer and just started sprinting around the house, just going like, yeah. I don't know. Then the Phantom shot, I was like, this is cool. It made me very happy. I felt like the coach from Major League 2 when he's jumping on the bed, like just real excited, saying I love this British stuff. Like, I was like, I love these monster movies. That's a very deep reference. I don't care.
Yeah, it's very much so.
You're not going to get. I mean, I would go maybe more on the Major League side, but I can't even tell the last time. The only thing I remember about Major League 2 is the one scene when Corbin Burnson takes the hit. He takes the hit, and he's like, oh God.
I haven't even seen one.
No, take the hit. No. Also, the trailer with Jesse Ventura and Omar Epps was Black Lightning and White Thunder, and they're just kept murdering people. And what? Oh yeah, Jesse Ventura jumps off a building, and then like he kind of just lands on his feet, and Tom Berenger's like, "What is happening here?" But it's one of my favorite fake movies ever made. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got there, but I did. So,
well, you talked about how you like the visuals and the slow motion shots. I really like the sound design of the film. Especially the bit that really stood out to me is when Rodrigo's helmet is cracking. Oh, just the sound of that cracking is horrific.
Yeah, it's unnerving,
nightmare inducing.
Yeah. And then just him looking at the cracking, it's like this is it. He's accepted the fate. Like, don't open the door. Then, that was shocking when I first watched this, and I was like, wow, you're and you don't see. I mean, you always hear about it in movies. You don't see it that often. Again, I go back to Michael Biehn being imploded in his pod and in the Abyss. And I'm glad they didn't do something weird in this movie. I bring up the Abyss again because one thing that always really upsets me about the Abyss is the alien aspect, and when they get floated from the bottom of the sea and they're like, hey, we're all alive. It's like, oh yes, the aliens gave us oxygen because we're not going to get the bends. So I'm glad they didn't do anything like that. I'm just glad that they just went into their little pods and floated up, and then you get a little epilogue and it's fine. There were no aliens giving people magic powers to not get the rapture of the deep. Thank God.
That's it. We've covered the Abyss. And I would say this film is more satisfying narratively than the ending of the Abyss.
Don't tell that to Tim Costa. He'll be pissed.
Okay.
I mean, I think it is. Like I don't know.
I enjoy it more.
Yeah, it's in and out.
Yeah, it's like an hour shorter as well.
The Abyss is interesting to me because of all the set design and the stories about filming it. Like that for me is what makes that movie. Is just knowing that everyone was in misery, and the fact that they put floating black marbles on top of the water so that light wouldn't get through to make it look darker and deeper. Like the weird things that they figured out while working on it's cool.
I'd like to see, The Offer, making of The Godfather, doing that for the Abyss and just seeing how.
My God! I think that could work for any Cameron movie. Honestly, just do that for every Cameron movie that's ever been created, basically.
You get the guy who played young Ed Harris on Westworld to play him in the Abyss. I can't remember his name.
Whoa!
And just having him like put him over the side of the road, breaking down in tears after filming one day. I need this to happen.
Put this out in the world, Jay. Put this out in the world.
We should record this.
Yeah.
Good thing we're recording. Are you recording this?
Oh, wait.
Oh, crap.
Oh, damn it.
That's happened to me before. I get too excited. I'm like, wait a second. I am not recording this at all.
Jimmy Simpson. That's his name. Jimmy Simpson. Yeah.
And real quick, one funny thing before I forget. In the commentary, the director, William Eubanks, said that T.J. Miller was the kind of guy who would smack gum at a funeral.
So he smacks gum in this when they're suiting up to go into the thingy, into the water.
That kind of makes sense to me for this guy. Like, he calls Kristen Stewart an elven person.
No,
My
I have the quote.
Elven warrior.
I mean,
sweet, flat-chested elven creature.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, T.J. Miller. But
it's T.J. Miller, I guess. You just have to take him for what he is.
When they're pulling him out of the rubble, and Rodrigo's like, are you caught on something? It's like, no, just be strong.
Yes,
be stronger. Be stronger.
I have that written down about 3 times because I love that line. Like, oh, you're stuck on something. No, just be stronger. That's funny.
It is funny because we do talk a lot more smack about him now just because of what we've learned about him recently. But, I mean, he has that way of being funny and kind of disarming because he says things that are just, I don't know, very T.J. Millerisms, I guess. But we always, it's him being the jerk on Silicon Valley. And he kind of sort of plays the same character in this. It's always like the same T.J. Miller.
He kind of plays the same character in everything. I'm not sure how much of a character it really is.
Yeah, it's him. T.J. Miller just plays T.J. Miller.
I do like that he's in a Hall & Oates cover band in She's Out of My League, and that always makes me smile. Sorry.
This cover band would make me smile.
Yeah. But you know what else too I like about this movie is it's quite simple too, and that always makes me happy. Like, it doesn't get overly convoluted, and I think they just sort of allow for, you know, like certain, like, I like when they're walking on the bottom of the ocean. There's kind of going. It would be dark down there. It would be like there wouldn't be a lot of view. A lot of things would be obstructed. So I like the, what the jump scares that come with that. Just I don't know. It's a cool movie. I don't know. I'm saying it again.
Yeah. Well, just the thing too. It's like none of them have ever done this too. I think maybe Vincent Cassel's character has done the walk from station to station, but like nobody else literally, and maybe John Gallagher's character. You're never really sure who is who. You know, Vincent Cassel's the captain. Nora is like the engineer.
She's the mechanical engineer, and Jessica Henwick is the research assistant.
The
rest
research
of them are all just kind of there.
They're just people that work on the rig. But I guess John Gallagher, it looks like he looked a little bit more official, and he looked like he was like, oh, get the gun, and he looked more like the maybe Hicks character or something like that from Alien potentially, where he's like a little bit more of a warrior guy. I don't know.
You feel like him and T.J. Miller know each other very well because when they go off and search for survivors and they find the little alien guy, they have that kind of handshake power, bro up moment before they go in there. So like they've done this before. They know these guys hang out a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I like that though because it's like there's building backstory without having to go through a whole like backstory narrative of like, man, remember that time we fought in something stupid that you would have in Predator or something like that. Even though I love Predator, it's like, remember Iwo Jima, kid? You know, it's nothing like that. It's like these guys happen to like each other, but then they're just survivor instinct, I guess, too. So stuff like that's cool. Put your own pieces together. You don't have to have everything just laid out for you. You know.
I like when, you know, well, I know we keep going back to this, but movies like Tremors or Predator, you don't really have. It's just people trying to survive, and they reasonably like each other. I kind of dig that about these movies, where you don't have to add too many little subplots. I'm being incredibly redundant here, but I'm just learning now that my favorite creature feature sometimes it's just, all right, we need to work together and let's get out of here and let's do this. I dug that about it. I just like this movie.
Yeah.
I contributed nothing there, but I just had a thought and I went with it. And
it was like, remember everybody, we all like this movie. Even Jay likes this movie now. He saw past the error of his ways back in 2020.
And, you know, there's a scene where they're talking about walking to the Roebuck. It's going to be a mile underwater. But they're like, well, we might die. He's like, yeah, well, we might live. Like, we're dead here.
That's what I like. That's what I like. Can you admit we might die? Yeah. Can you admit we might live? Is my favorite exchange in this film. I love that sentiment.
It's very mature, right? And then everyone goes, oh, that makes sense.
Like, if we stay here, we will definitely die. If we go there, we probably will, but you never know.
Yeah.
I think the only way we're going to know is if we go there. So what do you want to do here?
Stop arguing. Wait, or you want to try?
I love that part too. It's just sort of and then I like how K-Stu kind of it's like, oh, all right, yeah, cool, all right, let's do it.
Everybody's very agreeable in this movie. It's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. even though in the back of your mind you see their eyes and they're like, oh my god, we're gonna die. This is gonna be horrible. But all right, here we go. It's like before you jump out of the airplane, if you're going skydiving, it's like, I might die if I jump out this plane, but yeah, you might open your parachute and not die too. So it's
if you
fine.
don't, are you really living?
Oh man. That's the thing about this movie. It makes you think about so many things in those short 97 minutes.
And I also like movies about capable people just being capable. And so I know a lot of people don't like Tenet, but I really enjoy it.
I like Tenet a lot.
The huge scope of it, and it's just the production design, the costumes. But watching that movie, you're just watching extremely capable people be extremely capable for 2.5 hours. So then, like, watching this, sometimes you watch sort of fish out of the water horror films where people aren't, it's them sort of out of their element and they're not really kind of capable. But this one, it's just, once again, it's refreshing watching capable people being capable for 90 minutes. And I always sort of dig that about movies. There's not too much fumbling around. It's just point A to point B to point C. And then these are all people who are reasonably smart. So I always dig that about movies. And I don't know, I like when capable people are capable in movies. It takes out a lot of the drama, but you can focus it on creatures, or you can focus on chase scenes or creating a behemoth, because you don't have to spend all that screen time of like people fumbling. I know that's where a lot of the tension comes from, but I still dig it. It makes me happy. Well, I just like this movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think usually in these movies like this, the people who are all capable, they're making the stupidest mistakes. So it makes them just seem stupid. It's like, you're an idiot. Like, you're a scientist. Don't put that beaker over there, but you do it anyway because you're creating this what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're creating this drama because like this person should be smarter than this, and they're going to act like an idiot, and then they don't know. Then they blame somebody else. Like, well, I didn't know that. It's like, you went to this school for 15 years to not put that blue liquid in the red liquid, and you did it anyway.
You shouldn't have drunk it.
Yeah, don't drink that. You know you shouldn't have, but then you did. So it's just like this created, manifested drama just for the sake of it. Whereas this one, these people are smart. They're going through the motions. They're learning as they go. But then they're not also doing anything really dumb. Like, nobody in this movie does anything stupid.
No, the only danger is the situation they're in, that no one makes it worse.
Yeah, even the people who you wouldn't think is like, oh, I mop the floors. Even he's like using common sense. This is what we lack probably in this world, common sense. Like, yes, don't put that on your head so you don't drown. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I'll do that.
So Rodrigo notices there's a hairline crack in the helmet before he puts it on, but there are no other helmets.
Yeah,
so that's the only choice he has is to it might work. It's probably not going to work. It doesn't work.
I know, it sucks. It's like super sad when you see that too. It's like, oh man, it blows. It blows. Like, God, this guy's. It's of course the ultimate cliche. Oh, the black guy died first. Yeah. Technically, he didn't. The other people who got crushed in that tunnel when K-Stu closed the door died first.
Yeah, so. We don't know how many people the captain got out in the escape pods, but up to 310 people died before he did.
Yeah. So he was in the top 6. He was in top like 1%. So good. Hey, go get him, Rodrigo.
I have a couple real quick thoughts. This movie made me annoyed at the Gray Man because I'm like, Jessica Henwick is awesome, and then in the Gray Man, which is, I feel like it's anti-cinema, but Ryan Gosling gives the movie, like, Ryan Gosling makes it kind of enjoyable. But yeah, it's like she just stands around in an office yelling at things. But I'm like, yo, don't waste Jessica Henwick. And
I have forgotten the entirety of The Great Man, and I watched it a matter of weeks ago.
But all I know is that it's a movie that exists on Netflix.
I'm not sure it does anymore.
So I know.
I really know if it exists.
It's for me, it feels like anti-cinema again. But I was thinking about my favorite moments involving people being swallowed whole. in cinema. And
okay,
like,
yeah.
all right, so Waterworld 95, and I've written a data article about this
With
because
Sea Beast.
Costner jumps in the water, gets swallowed. But see, the thing is, Costner jumps in the water with a spear gun,
Yeah.
gets swallowed whole by a monster.
He's fishing with himself.
All the teeth miss Costner. Then Costner shoots the monster in the side with a spear gun that's not explosive, and he blows up the creature. Now, at this point, Costner has to swim back to his boat, turn the boat around, then go underwater again to grab chunks from the sea beast, and then swim back to the boat to feed people. So that's like a massive venture because he was annoyed at them fishing. I
guess I never really thought about how annoying that scene is.
I did a whole data article with graphics and everything for it. And I love Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest with the classic Kraken swallowing him. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Drax gets swallowed whole. Mm-hmm. I really like that. But one moment that I want to talk about that really sticks with me. I mean, Men in Black has a good one too. But
there's a couple you haven't mentioned, but go ahead and I'll tell you afterwards.
I love in Land of the Lost where Will Ferrell there's a T-Rex, and Will Ferrell is like, I'm going to attack this thing. And he just pole vaults straight into the T-Rex's mouth. And I guess he tickles his insides and gets pooped out. But I didn't see it coming. I was like, man, what's happening? And all of a sudden he pole vaults, but he does a perfect form directly in the T-Rex's mouth, and everyone, even the T-Rex, looks confused as to what just happened. So I think that's probably one of my favorite swallowed whole moments in a movie.
I mean, do you want to know mine?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's the bird in Deep Blue Sea. Gotta mention that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Richard in Deep Blue Sea 3.
Oh, yeah.
Swallowed whole. Which, Matt, I'm going to guess you haven't seen Deep Blue Sea 3?
I haven't, but I mean,
it's terrific. There was a moment where a guy.
I know that's your favorite. Isn't it your favorite one besides the first one?
Of the three, yes. Yeah. It goes 1 through 2. That's a pretty clear ranking. The Sam Jackson death moment of Deep Blue Sea 3 is a guy jumps off the deck of a ship, and before he reaches the water, a shark jumps out and eats him whole.
It's glorious.
It's incredible.
Does he get out of the shark? No, he's done.
It's not Sharknado.
Okay, it's not one of these scenes where it's like, I'm living inside a shark now.
No, it's not Pinocchio.
It's not like it's that Monstro or something like that. It's like, Pinocchio, I've made my home here inside this whale.
When I first watched it, I had to pause the film and just kind of walk around the room for a little bit just to calm down from watching this guy just dive and be eaten whole.
We were talking. You know what's crazy? I never thought about this, but we were talking with Courtney Smalls about Deep Blue Sea 3, and I never understood how insane this scene was. But one of the sharks is banging a boat, threatening to sink it. This guy takes a gun and points it at the shark that they have on the boat, and basically he's like 1, 2, and the shark swims away. The guy takes a spear gun and points it at a shark. The other shark sees it and goes, "Oh man, they got a gun on my buddy's head." My mom's head, and then it swims away. And I never appreciated the zaniness of it until that moment.
Because it's one-upping. They recognize guns from the first one too. They recognize guns in a hostage
the first one too. It's like sharks don't swim backwards.
Well, now they recognize and can put together a string of thoughts like, oh, that is a gun. It is pointed at my mother's head. Because I am grabbing the boat. It's like there's a complex series of events the shark was put together before. I forgot about that moment.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I do think there's a good Pacific Rim swallowed whole moment with Ron Perlman. Hellboy has a good swallowed whole. So, yeah, I mean, there's some good ones out there, but I think my favorite, there's so many good ones, but that T-Rex one, the fact that the T-Rex was confused. Also, Anaconda. The Anaconda swallows.
Oh, yeah, John Voight. And he gets up and the wing.
Oh, gosh. Also, Empire Strikes Back, they fly into that giant worm's mouth, which I don't know if that's swallowed whole, but I guess it is.
Well, they did.
Yeah. I mean,
technically it was swallowed whole.
I don't know if it's swallowed. If like a fly lands on your tongue, you haven't swallowed it.
It's true.
I don't know, but I've got a paper cut of that scene. On my wall, and I love it.
It's almost like when you count Independence Day, it's almost like being swallowed whole by the spaceship and then coming out. It's not an organic item, but you know. Oh,
I think you've got to draw the line in organic things.
Okay.
That's like my house has swallowed me whole because I'm inside it right now.
I know. My house is eating me.
Maybe if it's like Monster House.
Monster House, it's like you kind of go inside the Monster House. It's a living thing. You get swallowed by the Monster House. You have to get out.
Finding Nemo, a whale swallows Marlin and Dorian and
that's true.
Again.
And we can go forever and just.
I'm currently going through.
We need a whole series of just swallow. It's called Swallowed Whole, the podcast.
We should do a draft for a mini episode of Deep Blue Sea where we just draft Swallowed Whole moments.
Add to the list.
All right, there we go.
Someone, listeners.
Man, look at this. The magic is happening.
AJ, I really want to hear this though. How deep and blue is this movie?
Okay, so you will not be surprised to find out that
this is gonna be a complicated one. I feel. I'm gonna see what Jay said about this.
It is way more deep than it is blue. It's not going to surprise anybody. So, Matt is, as you know, Deep Blue Sea is about 14.5 meters deep and 31% blue. Do you reckon underwater is deeper and bluer than
I have a feeling
Deep Blue
because
Sea?
they keep reminding you in the movie too, like 6.7 miles below the earth or under the sea or something like that.
It may as well
So how
be
many
like,
meters would that be? What's 6.7 miles under the water?
So
you're European, Jay. You should know this off the top of your head.
Not top of my head because miles to me, like they use meters and miles in the film because the computer screens say meters.
The walking is meters, but like they kind of yeah.
So when they're 6 something miles down, it's about 8,000 meters. So I had to take some guesses here. So no, 10,000 meters. Sorry, I had to take some guesses and liberties here because they started out on a platform that's not at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and they descend down. They've been descending for a while before the computer screen says that they've got about 750 meters to go. So I took some liberties as to how much further up they were than that. Also, there is a scene that I actually messaged Mark about as to what happens here. When they're trekking across the floor, the captain gets dragged away by a creature, and he gets dragged down into a tunnel, and then he gets dragged up a direction with Kristen Stewart tied onto him. And I couldn't tell if it was up or down because he says they're rising too fast. The computer says reduce your ascent, but they get crushed by the increased pressure.
It's because I guess that was kind of weird because it's kind of like if you go lower, you would get crushed by more pressure down. If you're getting drug up, you're just basically introducing too much CO2 into your body, so you get the bends.
And if you look at the Wikipedia page for underwater, it says he gets dragged down deeper. I think that's wrong. I think it's up.
He goes up.
He
goes up. It says stop ascension. It doesn't say stop descension or anything.
I went back and I looked at the subtitles just to make sure I wasn't mishearing it. But also, if they were going down and then he jettisons his glove to sacrifice himself, Kristen Stewart then wouldn't go back up. She'd continue to go down as well because gravity. So they're going up. So at some point he goes up and go back down again. Basically, on average, this film is 9,435 meters deep.
Yes,
man.
Which is more than double the next one down on the list, which is Leviathan at 4,487 meters deep. So that's the deepest film we're maybe ever going to have.
The deepest one so far.
I mean, we haven't done Journey to Center of the Earth yet. We haven't done The Core yet. These are ones that could definitely go deeper. But in each of those films, there are also quite a lot of time spent on the surface, whereas Underwater is entirely at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Yeah. So we'd have to cover those films and work it out, I guess. But not only is Underwater our deepest film, it's also the biggest gap between deepest and bluest. This is not a very blue film. This is a very black film. This is a very green film. This is a 2.3% blue film. It's hardly blue at all. There's only shots when they're like going into water pools and when they're walking with the head torches, there is kind of some blue around it, but it's mainly white and green. It's just this is less blue than The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. This is less blue than Cliffhanger. This is there are only 5 films on the list more less blue than this, which are Born American, The Descent, Lake Placid, The Covenant, and Lifeboat. The other one's less blue. Lifeboat is black and white. So.
Well, with Adventures of Ford Fairlane, they do have a lot of scenes on the beach, though.
Exactly, that's what helps. But this is significantly deeper than Ford Fairlane, I've got to say. So it's our 47th bluest film, bluer than Born American, less blue than Cliffhanger, and deeper than everything else we've ever covered. But yeah.
Oof. And I want you guys. I listened to the Ford Fairlane episode while feeding my daughter one night, late at night. And that was a fun late night listen, guys. I love that episode. So if you haven't listened to that
still have Matt's claim of I can just recap the plot in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that was hilarious. It was in the beginning, right, where you're like, I think I can explain this movie, and then it went about 14 minutes, and I was like, this is amazing.
I know. I mean, the movie. I think what's Ford Fairlane? Probably about another like 97, 92 minute movie or something like that. So you could definitely explain that movie in 14 minutes. So I'm glad everybody was happy with the explanation of what you can come up with Ford Fairlane. I mean, I can,
It made me laugh. Like I was sitting there, I had my baby, and I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing because she's trying to sleep. But I love that episode.
I'm gonna have to go back and see if it made any sense to me. I could listen to it again and like, that wasn't right.
I have a list of how underwater is like Deep Blue Sea. It's fairly rudimentary stuff. So there's a map of the facility, which is during the opening credits of this one. They're in an underwater facility. We see the leading lady in her underwear. There's water dripping in a hallway. They're wading through a hallway. There's jets of steam in a hallway. The facility collapses and floods. Oh, when we see the shots of the facility crumpling from the outside, I love that stuff. That's great.
Oh yeah, just like it's so simple.
There's a dead body jump scare when they're crawling through the rubble. There's a wall full of tools. Paul TJ Miller gave me Scoggins energy a little bit. He felt like the Scoggins of the group.
Big Scoggins energy.
Yeah. BFE. There's an elevator scene. Characters sacrifice themselves to kill others and to save others and kill monsters. And most of the crew are not present in the film shortly after the film starts. Is my list of how it's like Deep Blue Sea.
Oh man.
So it's quite a similar film, but it's a lot of the basic stuff. There's no like birds and things. So,
yeah, there's only a spider.
There is a spider. Yeah.
I do want to bring up real quick. Brian Duffield, the writer, he's been on a pretty good tear lately. He wrote Love and Monsters. Yeah. He also wrote The Babysitter to the first one, which I quite enjoy with Samara Weaving, and he wrote Spontaneous, which it dragged a little towards the end, but it's about kids who just blow up spontaneously.
I haven't seen that yet. He directed that as well. I haven't watched that yet.
I haven't seen that one either yet.
And then the production designer, Naman Marshall, has done Don't Breathe, The Visit, Stuber, but then they were also the art director on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dark Knight. So you have just a beautiful production designer working on this. And then Bojan Bazeli was a cinematographer, and he shot A Cure for Wellness, which I think I love the look of that movie.
That's a gorgeous looking movie, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have a really good cinematographer, excellent production designer, like the new hot writer, good cast. So, yeah, and they also had Marco Beltrami doing the score. So this isn't like when you look at the credits of Deep Blue Sea, you realize how stacked it is. And then you look at the credits of this, and you're like, wow, this had a stacked, really. I mean, this had Legacy Effects and K&B. Like, this is a prestigious crew that worked on this. And
Brian Duffield's next film that he's a producer on, but not a writer or director, is Cocaine Bear.
I cannot wait for that one, because that's isn't that the Lord and Miller movie?
Yeah, they're producing it as well. They're not directing. It's directed by Elizabeth Banks is directing it, so we'll see.
Okay,
but it's got a great cast. I think it's one of Ray Liotta's last films. And yeah, O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s in it, Kerry Russell, Mario Martindale.
Oh, that's a great cast.
That's a great cast. And it's Cocaine Bear. It's going to be Cocaine Bear.
That was on my list of, I think, one of my top 3 for 2022.
It's been pushed back to next year, I'm afraid.
Oh, it is. Of course it has.
It's now your number 1 for 2023.
That's going to be it's at least starting as my number 1 for 2023. So perfect.
Okay, I think we've got to get out of here. So, Matt, do you have anything to plug?
Not really. We have a couple new things. We had our latest Simply 15 come out. We're on the 15th.
D23.
Yeah, D20. We talked about D23, and we just kind of screamed over each other and talked about how Disney and Marvel and how much we're starting to hate all of it. But Willow looks awesome. We have a new commentary coming out on the 20th, which is going to be super fun. I won't tell you what it is because it is the Wheel of Doom.
Oh, fantastic.
For our great co-patriot, DJ Valentine. And, of course, we'll be back with another brand new, excellent podcast episode on the 1st of the month. And if you guys want to visit anything on Letterboxd, you can. I guess, get a complete update on what I'm watching and all of our commentaries we've done from basically the beginning. I think we're up to about 80 commentaries right now. So we're reaching that 100. And that's about it. If you want more information, simplistic.reviews. We got rid of that .com crap. We're in the future now. We just go word, simplistic.reviews. Check all that.
I've told DJ that your future commentaries should include Shark in Venice. I'm waiting for that to happen.
That might. We also have our third annual 12-hour spooktacular for October as well. So Shark in Venice might make an appearance as long as
it's not a very scary film.
We'll scare it up. We'll make it scary.
It's a remake of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but in Venice with sharks.
Oh well.
And God, Stephen Baldwin and Scarlett Johansson's sister.
Oof, boy, I don't know if that's going to be for that, but it's definitely needs to be on the list for as commentary.
It must be. And you can also, on the most recent episode of Simplistic Reviews Proper, the September episode, you can hear me offending the entirety of Scotland by being Scrooge McDuck.
He sounded just like him.
Yep, that was the plan. I was aiming for David Tennant. Good. Mark, you got any plugs?
Yeah, just Movies, Films, and Flicks, Movies, Films, and FLX. You can check that out. Also, this is really random, but I'm going to talk about something I've been pretty excited about. Is Andor. I watched the first 4 episodes of it, and I'm only 4 episodes deep, but I think it's my favorite Disney Plus Star Wars show yet. It's very, the pacing's very deliberate. It's not in a hurry. There's no gigantic action scenes in the first few episodes, but Tony Gilroy, I just think, has managed to recreate the Rogue One vibes of the show, and just watching Diego Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, Adria Arjona, who is free of Morbius, which makes me happy. It's a very mature adult. It just doesn't feel aimed towards kids. This feels aimed towards, like, I don't know, adults. It's very
people who grew up with Star Wars original trilogy.
I think so. And it's the cinematography's cool. The 3rd episode creates some wonderful tension in it. And I'm really excited to see where it's going. So I just wanted to get that out there. I haven't been able to talk to anybody about it. Now the embargo is not the review embargo, but the social embargo's out, and this will be released after that. Yeah. But I like it. I can't wait for people to watch it and talk about it. So that's it.
Are Stellan Skarsgård's arms both intact at this point in the series?
No
spoilers? Okay.
Yeah.
Embargo, Jay. Embargo.
Okay. He smokes a cigarette and waves it near a Rancor.
Off the wall, but just lights it off. Like,
they've made a genetically modified super intelligent Rancor. I love it.
Yeah.
Good. As for me, Life vs. Film is my personal site. Head over to the Lambcast to hear me hosting a monthly episode of movie trivia called Lampity, which Mark, Matt, and I have all been on this year. Yes. Mark and I did slightly better than Matt did, unfortunately.
I thought I did okay on the last one.
You didn't win.
Well, I'm not saying I won. I'm just saying I did better.
You did well, but not as well as Tim Costa, unfortunately.
He beat me on a technicality, I feel.
Yes, he beat you by having more points.
Well, he beat me also by betting more. So yes, by more points, Jay. If that's what you mean by more points, yes, he won.
That's why you let it ride.
The rules of the game, he beat you.
Matthew, just let it ride.
I was being far too, and I knew the answer, and I was like, you know what? I'm smart. I bet on everything. I'm a wastoid. I should know this. Like, bet everything. What do I have to lose?
Jay stopped me from betting everything once. I was like, let it ride. Jay's like, no. So I was like, okay, 2,000.
Then you lost.
But then I let it ride for the rest of the episode, the finale, and my next daily double I got. So he let me let it ride for 2 of them.
Well, whether you let it ride or not is out of my hands for the next game, because the next game you and I are going to face each other. So we'll see.
I got to take it easy on Todd so he doesn't get all mad.
No, confuse him. Anyway, so that's on Lampity. And Mark and I are going through Con Air one scene at a time over on Con Air, the podcast, having a wonderful time talking about that incredible film. So go find us there. But as for today, as for Underwater, thank you to our guest, Matthew Stewart.
Thank you. The Airhead much approves of this podcast.
I've been Jake Blewett.
And I'm Mark Hoffmeyer.
And we'll Deep Blue see you again soon.